Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight from the heart, something I've learned not just from the mountaintops, but from the valleys too. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. See, some of you have been through storms, real storms, heartbreaks, layoffs, nights where your pillow soaked up every tear you cried. You've sat in the dark wondering if light would ever come, but you're still here. You might be tired, you might be limping, but you're still here. That's no accident, that's not luck, that's purpose. God has never made a mistake, and he didn't start with you. If you're still breathing, he's still working. You think he pulled you through all those trials just to let you go now? No. He's not done. The story isn't over. You're just in a chapter, not the conclusion. Now, I know the road gets hard. I know doubt creeps in, but the enemy only attacks what he fears. If life's been hitting you hard lately, it's because there's something powerful inside you. There's greatness in you. And the pressure you're feeling, that's the weight of your destiny trying to break through. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust the process. Trust the God who brought you here, because he has a track record and it's perfect. Every closed door, every detour, every delay, it's all part of a bigger plan. He's building you, strengthening you, preparing you. So don't you dare give up. Don't you dare stop believing. You've come too far. You've cried too many tears. You've fought through too much to throw in the towel now. You want to know how I know God's not done with you? Because you woke up today. That breath in your lungs is proof that grace still covers you, that mercy still follows you, and that your best days, they're not behind you. They're ahead. So walk with your head held high. Speak like you believe. Move like you're called. Because God didn't bring you this far to leave you. He brought you here to take you further. Thank you. If you're still standing, it means you've already overcome more than most people know. Life has a way of testing us in ways we never expect. Sudden storms, heartbreak, loss, rejection, moments when we thought we wouldn't make it another day. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still moving, maybe not as strong as you want to be. Maybe a little bruised, but alive. That's not random. That's not luck, that's purpose. Too often, we look at survival as just a getting by. We underestimate the victory in making it through the day. We don't recognize the power in enduring another night of pain, getting up the next morning and still choosing to show up. But you see, every time you didn't quit, that was purpose moving through you. Every time you wiped your tears and said, I don't know how, but I'll keep going, that was destiny speaking louder than fear. What you survived is not small. Don't minimize it. There were moments that tried to break you completely. You've walked through seasons that should have taken you out. You've carried burdens so heavy that no one around you even noticed because you learned how to smile through them. And yet with all that, you're still here. That's not weakness. That's power. That's purpose in motion. You don't come through fire and stay the same. Fire doesn't leave things untouched. It purifies. It reshapes. It reveals what's real. And if you're still standing after your fire, it means something was forged in you. Something that can't be taken away. People may see you and not understand why you keep going. That's because they didn't see what tried to stop you. They weren't there when you cried yourself to sleep. They weren't there when you almost gave up, but God was, and he never left you. There's something deeply spiritual in survival. It's not just about living another day. It's about fulfilling a calling that even you may not fully see yet. There's a reason your heart still beats. There's a reason you still have that dream that won't die. Even though the odds are stacked against you, it's because what's in you is stronger than what's around you. It's because your purpose is louder than your pain. You weren't built to break. You were built to endure. I think about all the times you said, I can't take this anymore, and yet you did. Think about all the times you thought the situation would destroy you, but somehow you came out wiser, stronger, even a little more grateful. That's not just coincidence. That's God working. That's proof that your survival wasn't just survival. It was transformation. It was preparation. Your story isn't over just because a chapter looks rough. In fact, the chapters that feel like chaos often lead to the most powerful turning points. You don't have to have everything figured out to be purposeful. You just have to recognize that you're still here for a reason. The very fact that you've endured what you have is evidence that there is more in store for you. There are people you're meant to reach, work you're meant to do, lives you're meant to touch, and all of that is still in front of you. You might not have the platform, you might not have the title, but you've got the testimony. You've got experience that can't be taught in books or classrooms, the kind of wisdom that only comes from real life, from pain, from pressing on when everything in you wanted to stop. That kind of survival turns into strength. That kind of strength becomes influence. That kind of influence changes lives. So when you think about where you are right now, don't just count your goals, count your scars. Those scars are not signs of defeat. They're evidence of what you've overcome. They're reminders that you've been through something and came out on the other side. And every scar tells a story of resilience, of faith, of grit, of unshakable hope. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you're focused on how far you still have to go. But take a moment and look back. Look back. Look at the things that once overwhelmed you that now you barely think about. Look at the storms that once felt like they would never pass, but did. That's not just time doing its work. That's God doing his. There's divine intention at play. There's a force greater than your fear guiding your steps, even when you don't see it. And you may not always feel strong. You may not always feel confident, but feelings are not the measure of survival. Your presence is. You showed up. You kept moving. You didn't let the brokenness define you. And that's purpose revealing itself in its rawest form. Because real purpose doesn't show up dressed in perfection. It shows up in persistence. It shows up in quiet courage. It shows up in those moments when no one is watching and you still choose not to quit. Sometimes survival is the most powerful testimony you'll ever have. Because when someone sees you standing, knowing what you've been through, they realize that maybe they can stand too. Your survival becomes someone else's inspiration. Your scars become someone else's hope. That's why you're still here. Not just to live, but to lead. Not just to breathe, but to build. Not just to endure, but to empower. So the next time you doubt your worth, remind yourself, if God brought you through all of that, there must be something extraordinary still in front of you. Something that required every lesson, every heartbreak, every obstacle. You didn't just survive for nothing. You survived for something sacred. You survived for something that matters. God is not finished with you yet. You may feel stuck, tired, or uncertain, but the truth is this. Your current situation is not your final destination. Every breath you take is evidence that the Creator still has work to do through you. The fact that you are here reading this, thinking about your purpose, looking for direction, is a sign that your story is still being written. And not just any story, a story with divine fingerprints on every page. It's not over. What you see today is just a moment in the middle of something much greater. Life has a way of convincing us we're done when we're only in transition. We experience setbacks, delays, disappointments, and we start to believe that maybe we've peaked. That maybe the best is behind us, that maybe we've messed up too badly, missed too many chances, or waited too long. But those are lies. Lies the world tells, lies fear tells, lies that failure whispers in your ear late at night. But the truth is simple and powerful. God doesn't quit on people, and he hasn't quit on you. There's something sacred about being in the middle. It doesn't always feel good. In fact, most of the time it feels messy, confusing, frustrating. But the middle is where growth happens. It's where God refines you. It's where character is developed. It's where your faith is stretched, where your patience is tested, and where your endurance is formed. You can't rush the middle. You can't skip it, because the middle is preparing you for what's next. Think about the great stories in Scripture, in history and life. None of them were instant. Every one of them involved a waiting season, a testing season, a time when nothing made sense, but everything had purpose. Joseph had a dream. But before he saw it come to life, he was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. For years, it looked like nothing was happening, but God was working behind the scenes. God was building him up, teaching him, protecting him, positioning him, because what looked like delay was actually divine development. The dream didn't die. It was just in process. And when the time was right, everything shifted. That same principle is true for you. The delay you're experiencing isn't a denial. It's a setup, a pause with a purpose. You might not see it now, but there are pieces being put in place. People you haven't met yet, doors you haven't seen yet, opportunities that haven't appeared yet, and they're all part of the plan. The frustration you feel isn't the end of your story. It's the pressure of preparation. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. And you are being prepared for something bigger than you've imagined. Sometimes the silence of God feels like absence. But silence is often the sign of trust. Teachers don't talk during tests. And when God is silent, it doesn't mean he's not working. It means he's watching to see what you do with what he already gave you. Will you keep moving when it's hard? Will you keep trusting when it doesn't make sense? Will you believe even when you can't see the end? These are the moments that define you. And these are the moments where God does his deepest work. You may think your mistakes disqualify you, but nothing could be farther from the truth. God doesn't wait for perfect people. He works through broken people, willing people, available people. You can't mess up his plan if you're still willing to say yes. Yes to growing. Yes to learning. Yes to trying again. Your past doesn't cancel your calling. In fact, sometimes your past is the very thing God uses to give you a future path. Redemption is not just about being forgiven. It's about being repurposed. What was meant to harm you, he will use to help others. What was meant to break you, he will use to build you. When you feel overlooked, remember that even when no one else sees you, God sees you. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. The work he's doing in you is not always visible to the world, but it is vital to your calling. Roots grow underground before fruit appears above. And that's what's happening in your life right now. Growth, quiet growth, invisible strength, silent shaping. You're becoming someone capable of carrying the weight of the blessing that's coming. Every no you've heard is leading to the right yes. Every closed door is a redirection, not a rejection. Every painful lesson is teaching you something you'll need for the journey ahead. It's not wasted. Not one tear, not one heartbreak, not one failure. All of it matters. All of it is part of the process. And just because you don't see the finish line doesn't mean you're not making progress. Sometimes it's in the daily, ordinary faithfulness, the praying, the believing, the doing what you can with what you have, that God does his most extraordinary work. God hasn't finished with you because there are still people you're meant to love, still work you're meant to do, still lives you're meant to impact. There are songs you haven't sung yet, books you haven't written yet, ideas you haven't shared yet, dreams that haven't even taken full shape yet. There are victories ahead of you. There is joy waiting for you. There is healing that will come. There is freedom that will be yours. The best part of your story hasn't even been told, but you have to keep going. You have to keep trusting. You have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Every step you take in faith, even when you don't have all the answers, is a step closer to what you've been praying for. It's a step deeper into your purpose. It's a step higher in your calling. People around you may try to define you by where you are now. They might label you based on your situation, your income, your status, your past. But they don't see what God sees. They don't know what he's spoken over you in the quiet places. They can't feel the fire he's put in your spirit. They can't measure the strength he's building in your soul. Their opinion doesn't define you. His purpose does. And if he says you're not finished, then you're not. Period. There's more inside you. More potential, more vision, more creativity, more resilience. You are not empty. You are not out of options. You are not too late. God is the author of time, and he knows exactly when and how your breakthrough will come. He knows who needs to come into your life, what needs to shift, what needs to fall into place. And he is not in a rush. He's in control. So if you're in a waiting season, don't lose heart. If you're in a rebuilding season, don't give up. If you're in a confusing season, don't walk away. This isn't the end. It's just the middle. It's just a middle. And the middle might not look like much right now, but it's the place where God lays the foundation for miracles. It's where transformation takes root. It's where greatness is born. Pain is never pleasant. It's not something anyone asks for, and it often comes uninvited at the worst possible times in the most unpredictable ways. But pain has a purpose that comfort never will. It does something in you that easy seasons never can. Pain breaks you open. It exposes what's been buried. It reveals who you really are. And if you allow it, pain will prepare you for the purpose you were born to fulfill. There's a certain kind of strength that only comes from struggle. You can't read about it in a book or learn it in a classroom. You only discover it in the dark, when the silence is loud, when the road is lonely, when the pressure is intense. Those are the moments where everything feels like it's falling apart, but in reality, something deeper is coming together. Those moments are where purpose is formed. Pain has a way of forcing us to pay attention. It slows us down. It strips away distractions. It makes us question, dig, seek, and grow. Most of the time, when life is easy, we coast. We don't think much about our character, our habits, or our faith. But when pain enters the picture, we begin to evaluate. We begin to ask hard questions. We begin to wrestle with things that matter. And in that wrestling, growth takes root. That's why so many people who've walked through the hardest seasons are the most compassionate, wise, and resilient. They've been through the fire and came out refined. You don't become strong by avoiding pain. You become strong by surviving it. And not just surviving it, but learning from it, embracing the lessons, allowing it to shape. What felt like defeat may birth a deeper dependence on God, a greater sense of direction, and a renewed sense of identity. It's okay to not understand the pain while you're in it. It's okay to ask why. It's okay to cry, to grieve, to feel. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But even in your questioning, know that something deeper is happening, something that is not visible now, but will be undeniable later. Seeds planted in tears often bloom into testimonies that change lives. What you're carrying now is heavy, but it's holy. It's sacred. It's part of something bigger than you can currently comprehend. And as painful as it is, it's producing something valuable. Resilience, wisdom, patience, empathy, depth. These are the tools you will use to fulfill your purpose. Not the easy days, but the hard ones. Not the praise, but the pressure. So don't despise the pain. Don't wish it all away. Let it shape you. Let it show you who you are. Let it introduce you to the strength you didn't know you had. Let it strip away what doesn't serve you. Let it prepare you for the people you'll serve, the places you'll go, and the purpose you'll fulfill. Pain is not the end of your story. It is a necessary chapter in the journey toward becoming everything you were created to be. Faith isn't just believing when everything makes sense. Faith is believing when nothing makes sense. It's waking up every day and choosing to trust, even when the answers haven't come yet. It's holding on when you feel like letting go. It's praying with tears in your eyes, showing up even when your heart is tired, and staying committed to what you believe even when you can't see the finish line. Faith is not a feeling. It's a decision to keep walking even when the road disappears beneath your feet. When you're in a season of uncertainty, faith becomes your anchor. It's what keeps you grounded when the winds of doubt blow strong. It's what reminds you of the promise, even when all you can see is the problem. And if you've ever walked through a dark valley, you know this. Faith doesn't always feel strong. Sometimes it's fragile. Sometimes it's shaky. Sometimes all you can do is whisper, God, I trust you. And that whisper is louder than a shout in heaven because it comes from a place of deep surrender. Faith isn't about having everything figured out. It's about believing that God does. It's about stepping out when you're scared, starting again when you failed, and standing firm when everything around you is shifting. It's about holding on to the unseen promise more than the visible problem. Because truthfully, if you could see it all, it wouldn't require faith. And yet it's that very uncertainty that produces the strongest kind of trust. The kind of trust that isn't built on outcomes, but on relationship. There's a reason why some of the most powerful moments in life happen not when everything is clear, but when everything is unclear, and you choose to trust anyway. Faith in those moments is not passive. It's active. It's intentional. It's choosing to rise, choosing to believe, choosing to move forward. Even if your steps are slow, even if you stumble, the decision to keep walking in the dark is what shapes you. When God gives a vision, he rarely gives all the details. He shows you the mountain, but doesn't explain the climb. He puts the dream in your heart, but doesn't show you the detours. And that's not because he wants to frustrate you. It's because he wants to grow you. If you saw everything that was coming, you might try to take control. But faith teaches you to release control, to surrender, to stop trying to figure out how and start trusting who. Every time you choose faith over fear, you grow, you get stronger, you become more resilient. Fear is loud. It tells you to stop, to wait, to quit. But faith speaks in a steady, calm voice. It reminds you of who you are and who your God is. It doesn't ignore reality. It just places reality under the authority truth. And that truth says you are not alone, that you are seen, that there is a plan, that your life is not random, that even in your confusion, you are being led. Faith doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. You don't have to be flawless to have faith. You just have to be willing to show up, willing to try again, willing to believe that even your smallest step is significant. Because God doesn't expect you to have it all together. He just asks that you keep moving forward, one step at a time. Sometimes faith looks like celebration. But sometimes faith looks like tears on the pillow and still choosing to rise. Sometimes it looks like shouting with joy. But sometimes it looks like walking into the unknown with trembling hands and a quiet heart that says, even now I trust you. The beauty of faith is that it meets you where you are. It doesn't demand that you be fearless, only that you be faithful. When you think about the great stories of the faithful, Abraham, Moses, Ruth, Esther, David, none of them had a straight, predictable path. All of them faced moments where their faith was tested. And yet, in every case, their trust in God led them to something greater. Not because they never doubted, but because they didn't let the doubt stop them. They kept believing. They kept walking. They kept saying, yes, faith is choosing to believe that God is who he says he is, even when your circumstances seem to say otherwise. It's choosing to believe that he is good, that he is near, that he is working, even when you feel forgotten or overwhelmed. Faith is not blind. It sees deeper. It sees beyond what's visible. It sees through the pain and the waiting and the confusion, and it holds on to the truth that there is more going on than what you can see. The hardest part of faith is often the waiting for doors to open, waiting for healing, waiting for breakthrough, waiting for direction, waiting when you've already waited for so long. And yet waiting is often where the deepest trust is built, because it's in the waiting that you learn to rely not on what God does, but on who God is. You begin to value his presence over his performance. You begin to recognize that his timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match yours. In a world that values instant results and quick fixes, faith teaches you patience. It teaches you endurance. It teaches you to see delays not as denials, but as divine pauses. Opportunities for refinement, for preparation, for alignment. Sometimes the wait is not about what you're waiting for, but about who you're becoming in the process. And the person you become in the waiting is often the person who's ready to carry the blessing that comes next. Faith isn't just for mountaintops. It's for valleys. It's for the ordinary days, the boring days, the days where nothing seems to be happening. It's for the moments when you're tempted to give up. It's for the quiet places where no one sees your struggle. And it's in those places where faith is often the most powerful. Not because it changes your circumstances immediately, but because it changes you. There is power in choosing to believe that your story is not finished, that your steps are ordered, that your dreams are still valid, that your struggle is not wasted, that your future is still unfolding in ways you can't imagine. That's what faith sounds like. Not loud, not flashy, but steady, persistent, unshakable. A quiet confidence that's, I may not see it now, but I know something is happening. Faith doesn't remove obstacles. It gives you the strength to face them. It doesn't eliminate fear. It empowers you to move forward anyway. It doesn't guarantee an easy journey, but it promises a meaningful one. A journey where every step, every detour, every delay is part of a bigger design. And when you look back, you'll see that even in your weakest moments, faith was carrying you. That even when you felt like you had nothing left, something kept you going. That something was faith. Not the kind that shouts from the rooftops, but the kind that whispers to keep going. The kind that says, you're not done. The kind that stands when everything else falls. The kind that doesn't need all the answers to keep trusting the one who holds them. Storms have a way of revealing what's inside of us. When life is smooth, it's easy to think we have it all together. But when the winds rise, when the rain pours, when everything that once felt stable begins to shake, that's when our true foundation is tested. Storms don't ask permission. They don't check your schedule. They don't wait for a convenient moment. They come and they come on. But just because a storm shows up doesn't mean you're supposed to quit. Just because the skies turn dark doesn't mean your purpose is canceled. The presence of a storm is not the absence of progress. In fact, storms often come right before breakthrough. They test your resolve, your endurance, your vision. The storm doesn't necessarily mean you're off track. Sometimes it means you're right on schedule. Think about it. Ships are built to sail, but they are also built to endure rough waters. Your life is not designed to be docked in safety. It's designed to move, to stretch, to weather what comes and still stay on course. Every storm is a question. How bad do you want it? How committed are you to the dream? How strong is your why? Anyone can move forward when skies are blue and the sun is out. But it takes another level of strength, of grit, of faith to keep moving when it's dark, when you can't see clearly, when you're soaked in rain and battered by wind. That's when character is built. That's when purpose is forged. People often think storms mean failure, or that they're being punished. But the truth is, some storms come to clear the path. Some storms strip away what no longer serves you. They shake loose the things you've been holding on to that were never meant to stay. The job, the relationship, the plan you made. Not every loss is a setback. Sometimes it's a setup for something better. The shaking might feel violent, but it's revealing what's rooted and what's not. And what remains after the storm is what you can build on. When you find yourself in the middle of a storm, the instinct is often to retreat, to run, to find the nearest shelter and wait it out. But there are times when the only way out is through. There are times when the storm isn't meant to be avoided. It's meant to be navigated. It's meant to be navigated. And navigating a storm means trusting that there is still direction even when the compass seems broken. It means moving with courage, not because you're fearless, but because you've decided the goal is worth it. Storms teach you something about endurance. They show you how to keep showing up even when it's hard, how to keep believing even when nothing looks like it's working, how to dig deeper, stand taller, and fight harder for what matters. You may not be able to stop the rain, but you can decide not to drown in it. You can choose to plant your feet, to lift your head, and to declare that the storm will not have the final word. The truth is, storms don't last forever. No matter how long or how loud they are, they pass. The key is to outlast them, to stand firm long enough for the clouds to clear. And often, when the storm is over, you'll find that you're stronger than you were before it started. Your roots went deeper. Your vision got clearer. Your priorities shifted. You discovered a level of strength and clarity you didn't know you had. That's the gift hidden in the storm. It's not always about surviving the storm. Sometimes it's about transforming in it, letting it refine you, letting it teach you, letting it peel away the superficial so what's real can emerge. And what's real is your calling, your resilience, your identity. Storms can't take those things from you. They can only uncover them. You begin to see that what tried to break you only revealed what was unbreakable in you. Some of the most significant turning points in life happen in stormy seasons. Because it's in the storm that we often stop relying on our own strength and start leaning fully into something greater. It's in the storm that we realize we can't control everything. And that's okay, because we're not meant to control everything. We're meant to trust, to persevere, to learn, and to rise. People often pray for the storm to end quickly, but sometimes the storm is doing more for you than the sunshine ever could. It's building endurance. It's exposing weaknesses. It's increasing your capacity. It's preparing you for the weight of the promise you're about to walk into. Not everyone is willing to endure the storm, which is why not everyone sees the other side of their purpose. But if you can hold on, if you can keep moving, if you can keep believing, there is something waiting beyond the chaos that makes every drop of rain worth it. There's power in choosing to stay committed when everything around you tells you to quit. There's power in showing up day after day, soaked and tired and worn, but still holding the vision in your heart. That kind of resolve moves things. That kind of faith stirs heaven. It's not always the loudest people who change the world. Sometimes it's the quiet ones, the consistent ones, the ones who refuse to give up even when it hurts. You'll find that the storm sharpens your vision. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. You stop getting distracted by every little thing. When you're in survival mode, you get clear about your priorities. You realize what's essential. You simplify. And that clarity becomes your compass. It guides your decisions. It shapes your mindset. It helps you move with purpose instead of panic. The storm also teaches you compassion. When you've been through something, you become more sensitive to others who are struggling. You know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep. You know what it's like to feel unsure. And because you know, you're able to comfort, to encourage, to lift others up. Your pain becomes your empathy. Your survival becomes your story. Your storm becomes someone else's shelter. You might not have chosen the storm, but you can choose your response. You can decide not to let it define you. You can decide to rise anyway, to build anyway, to hope anyway, to keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it, because you've come too far to stop now. Because there's something on the other side of the rain that you are meant to see, something you are meant to become. There will be moments when you feel like giving up, when the waves are high and your strength is low. But those are the moments when you must remember why you started, what you prayed for, what you believed in, what was placed in your heart long before the storm began. That dream, that calling, that purpose, it didn't disappear just because the sky turned dark. It's still there. It's still yours. And maybe the storm is not there to destroy you, but to strengthen you, to prepare you for what's next, to teach you what peace really means. Not the absence of trouble, but the presence of calm in the middle of it. That's where real strength lives. Not in the avoidance of storms, but in the ability to walk through them with grace, with courage, with faith. You didn't come this far just to come this far. You didn't fight through sleepless nights, break through obstacles, climb over setbacks, and rise from the ashes of disappointment just to stop here. There is more in you. There's more ahead. So more ahead. You've been prepared for more, stretched for more, challenged for more. Not to quit halfway, not to settle halfway, not to fold because the road got tough. You didn't endure everything you endured just to throw in the towel now. Every test, every trial, every tear, every tough conversation, every lonely night, none of it was wasted. It was preparation. It was building something in you that's greater than what you see around you. You didn't survive all of that to stay stuck in fear or doubt or hesitation. The truth is, people often stop too soon. They stop when it hurts. They stop when it gets confusing. They stop when it feels like nothing is changing. But just because you can't see the full picture doesn't mean the picture isn't forming. Just because you don't have all the answers doesn't mean the story isn't still being written. The process might not be pretty, but the promise still stands. You're in the middle of the making, not the end. Not the end. And the middle is always messy. It's uncomfortable. It's stretching. It doesn't always feel like progress, but it is. It's working something in you. It's chiseling away fear. It's deepening your resilience. It's anchoring your purpose in something unshakable. And that doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. That takes storms. That takes moments of almost quitting and choosing not to. You didn't come this far without purpose. There's no such thing as accidental survival. You made it through things others didn't. You held on when others let go. You endured what you thought would break you. And that endurance is not for nothing. There's a reason you're still standing. There's a reason the dream won't leave you alone. There's a reason you still feel a pull toward more. That's not random. That's a calling. That's a calling. That's a divine reminder that you're not done yet. That what's behind you was only a preview of what's possible. Think about all the times you didn't quit. Think about all the times you wanted to but didn't. Those moments matter. They're proof of your strength. And they're evidence that your story has momentum. You didn't give up then, and you don't have to give up now. The same strength that carried you through before is still in you now. In fact, it's stronger. It's wiser. It's deeper. You may feel tired. You may feel like you've been pushing for too long. But fatigue isn't failure. Being weary doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you've been in the fight. And if you've been in the fight, that means you're close to something. The enemy of progress isn't failure. It's comfort. It's comfort. Comfort tells you to stay where it's safe, to stop taking risks, to stay in what's familiar. But nothing grows in the comfort zone. Everything meaningful happens on the other side of resistance. It's when you push past what you thought you could do that you discover what you're really made of. You don't know how strong your faith is until it's tested. You don't know how deep your purpose is until it's challenged. You don't know how determined your spirit is until it's been told to give up. And it refuses. It's easy to talk about dreams when everything is going well. But real commitment shows up when things don't go according to plan. When your timeline gets wrecked, when the support disappears, when the applause stops, that's when your why becomes everything. Why did you start? Why did you believe? Why did you sacrifice, pray, hustle, work, show up? That a why becomes your anchor. It holds you down when everything around you feels uncertain. It reminds you that you're not doing this for quick rewards. You're doing it because there's something bigger than you pulling you forward. You didn't invest all that time and energy just to build halfway. You didn't stretch your faith just to shrink back now. You didn't make it through the wilderness just to die at the edge of the promise. That's not your story. Your story is one of endurance, of rising again, of holding on to hope even when you can barely see it, of refusing to let go of the vision even when the process doesn't look like the promise. That kind of resolve changes things. That kind of resolve shifts atmosphere. It opens doors. It shakes chains loose. It draws favor. Your journey may not have been smooth, but it's been sacred. Every step, every stumble, every scar, it all carries meaning. It all speaks of a deeper purpose, and that purpose is not finished. There's more to see. There's more to do. There's more to become. You are not here by accident. You didn't get here by luck. You got here by grace, by grit, by faith. And that same combination will take you the rest of the way. People may not understand your process. They may look at you and wonder why you're still pressing forward, why you haven't given up. But they weren't there when you cried yourself to sleep. They weren't there when you had to encourage yourself because no one else showed up. They weren't there when you had to rebuild from nothing. So they don't get to define your finish line. You've come too far to listen to opinions that don't know your journey. You've come too far to quit for people who wouldn't have even made it this far. The truth is, you're closer than you think. You may feel stuck, but sometimes the most growth happens in hidden seasons. When it looks like nothing is changing, everything is changing under the surface. Roots are deepening. Vision is maturing. Character's being refined. The next step isn't always louder or more visible. Sometimes the next step is simply not quitting. Sometimes it's showing up again. Sometimes it's being faithful in the small things because consistency builds legacy. And legacies aren't built in moments, they're built in decisions. One after another, quietly, faithfully, relentlessly. When the voice in your head tells you to stop, you have to speak louder. You have to remind yourself who you are, what you've been through, what you're capable of. You have to declare that quitting is not an option, that turning back is not an option, that you weren't built for retreat. You were built for resilience, for strength, for vision, for greatness, for greatness. And greatness doesn't always look flashy. Sometimes it looks like getting up one more time than you fell. Sometimes it looks like forgiving when it's hard, believing when it's painful, trusting when it's quiet. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in what was placed in you. You need to believe that you were given this assignment for a reason, that the fire in your belly is not random, that the calling on your life is not negotiable. It's yours.